I might be low on mood, but I know what's gonna cheer me up, and it's not gonna be Ben Brode's laugh, unfortunately.
My goodness.
Oh, come on!
No, it's not gonna be that. But it is the best series ever, fixing Hearthstone, because it goddamn sucks so bad. So let's go to part 6. But we treat it as part 3 because we're rewinding the third part as well into the 6th part on this new channel. And we're upgrading a few things if it doesn't ring a bell, because we're reading this after a little bit of a break, so it feels a little bit different. Let's get into this. Alright, so we have a saying down to 1. Something cannot cost less than something. A card cannot cost less than 1. It can be anything, and we have all these extra space for the card. So we basically shrink this by a half. Yes, every time I change names and whatnot, I oversimplify potentially. But what's the point? What's the point of having so much text anyways, when once you read the card a few times, you sort of get how it works. And then your memory just kind of fills in the blank anyways. So oversimplifying cards is completely fine. A card could even say mysterious effect. And it would still kind of make sense once we figure out how it works. We would still remember how it works. And if we want to have it in a deck and when we want to play it or whatever. So, I talked about resources, I talked about material, and Death Knight has corpses. So I'm like, what about other classes? I believe I picked Demon Hunter, as you can see, and then I picked Druid. Can we squeeze in another class into the mix? We'll see if we have time for that. So I picked the Stitch Giant. You, what? What? Oh. Ugh. Stupid name. So, it has double requirement, I said. Like, you have to spend corpses, and then it gets discounted. After you have the corpses and spend them, and then this gets the bonus. So basically it's 2 layers deep, which makes no sense in general. And it got buffed from 10 mana to 9 mana, I believe. It still makes no sense. Because it has so much requirement, like it makes no sense. Why not just spend corpses? Why not just respect the material instead of like, oh, you're gonna get many corpses all the time. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be weaker. I don't want Blood Knight to be the best Death Knight ever and forever, and the one that I want to concede to every time. So it would be nice if you could just summon this. And it would still just cost 3 mana minimum, basically. Because you can only spend 4 corpses, and for each corpse it costs 2 mana less. Technically, you literally cannot summon it unless you stitch a corpse in there. Pretty cool. And if... I don't know. Giants would be so much more powerful if they had Taunt, absolutely. I would agree. Especially now that Hunters are dominating the metagame with this stupid Hound that I cannot protect myself from. But I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to... I mean, it would be a much bigger buff than, you know... A Taunt actually you play it and it actually does something. Demon... What quest I got? I'm interested in getting those packs, man. They're giving a lot of packs right now. But it takes like 3,000 crystals or whatever. It's crazy. And they force you to play Battlegrounds for some reason, which makes no sense. You're giving me packs and forcing me to play Battlegrounds? Stop it. I played Battlegrounds once. I won the game. And it was a horrible experience because nothing makes sense, basically. Absolutely nothing. Literally nothing. Like, Hearthstone actually, like, keeps my sanity. I can sort of read, and, like, the cards are, like, so weak, and you already have, like, a full board of giant minions, and then what do you do with the rest of the fucking gold that you get? Like, I don't want to touch Battlegrounds. It seems like the most disgusting experience. It seems fair, though. Wow. Very fair. I don't think it's fair at all. I completed a quest, and the quest has carried me to the first place. Quest alone. Quest where the biggest minion carries stats to the smallest minion. And it's like, what the now I have 150, and it's just so stupid. I'm sorry, guys. But I'm disgusted that, you know, Hearthstone has been split into little pieces of shitty things. So it's literally trying to kill itself in many, many ways. Even printing a Death Knight, which is like... that's a suicidal name, absolutely. And then printing 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is very appropriate. But you don't need that right now. We're not missing them, we're living in the apocalypse. No problem, guys. Those who want to amplify the pain will have to also suffer the pain. Can't wait to buy Hearthstone. So the relics would actually be kind of cool because it could force outcast cards, right? You can give an outcast card a relic, and they would feel like they have enough superpowers to just, you know, wander around and test their superpowers in the shadows or whatever. That would be kind of cool. Like, you just naturally become an outcast with a relic, while you know, you can be forced into an outcast, which is by being a left or rightmost card. That actually feels like force, and this is like a natural way to become an outcast. That's kind of cool. So Relic of Extinction I've changed into, and all these relics basically, you gain a relic, and then for each relic that you have, you spread 1 damage. Because Relic of Extinction is a little bit annoying. It just does something twice. Technically, am I weakening this thing? So I deal 2 damage. But here I'm just spreading damage. So I'm literally nerfing this thing, but not really, because it's just a very simplified version of this. Where it's like, I mean, this is kind of appropriate. I just don't want everything to die from a 1-mana card. But whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to support this thing, but it seems fair because you get so many relics. So you're gonna clear the board a lot easier. And you're gonna actually clear the board this time. So, why make it so awkward that this card barely does anything? Because it could hit, like, tokens, and you can't play it when your opponent has tokens. It's just too weird. You just go the ordinary route. Basically, Hearthstone developers want to invent something new, and it's not gonna work. It's not better than just printing a boardclear that deals 1 damage to everything. So the Phantasm does the same thing. It grows by the Relic command. And then Relic Vault has been changed completely. Not into casting a relic twice, but you actually take a relic out of the vault, and for yourself, and draw a relic from your deck. which is technically also a vault or whatever. Like, it makes more sense than just doubling whatever you have all of a sudden. Why would you double it? What? I want this relic that I already have. Oh, okay. Here you go. It's weird. Relic of Dimensions goes back to 5 mana. Draw 3 cards, not 2. But if you spend 3 relics, they cost 2 less. 1 relic for each card. It's kind of interesting. Is there something we can... Wait, what? Where is it? Oh, I disenchanted. So this happened to be like nerfed card and still like really powerful, and you can cheat so much mana. Why not just, you know, make it proper? Again, Hearthstone developers want extreme cases of whatever. They want to make your eyes pop. And I'm like, dude, my eye's gonna pop, but it's gonna hurt. I just want, like, fair things. This is why people play Battlegrounds, because it's kind of fair. But you can still get ridiculously lucky. So there's a reason to make a fair game. And things costing mana, but just costing 2 less if you spend 3 relics. So you don't get relics to spend, you just draw 3 cards, which is already pretty good for 5 mana. Alright, and you get a bonus if you spend relics, that's it. What is this? Fell Screamer. So yeah, instead of doing this, and I basically just looked into Demon Hunter cards. Not necessarily they're like bad design, but I just wanted to squeeze in the material as much as possible, the relic thing. And in this case, I just created a whole passive effect where if you have enough relics, your demons cost less. Again, passive is something you apply to for the rest of the game. Instead of, you know, this kind of lame mana cheating effect that's reliable, but it's one of those, you know, like, you play a 4-drop, now you have to play a 5-drop. Now there's a combo that's broken and does things. Like, we had to experience that back in the day. Now this card is just unplayable, which is kind of awkward as well. We have, like, big demon deck and it's an unplayable card. I don't get it. This would, like, be pretty cool. Just, it could probably really boost a deck. Then there's Crixus, which discards your hand and then draws 3 cards. But it's a 4/4. I mean 7/7. Or instead of just discarding your hands, how about you spend 3 relics? Yeah, you get the Crixus. Wait, what the? Okay. Yeah, it also has to die, which is already a big body that has to die for you to get 3 cards. It's kind of unplayable, so yeah, unless you cheat it out, which is now cheating, so it's not fun. So you know, spend relics. If you have a requirement for something, if you want to get more stats, apparently, which 4 mana 7/7 no longer is that scary. It would be completely appropriate to just discard 2 or 3 cards. But I do remove the Death Rattle because I don't want complexity at the moment. Alright. Then you have this thing, which is, you know, no longer playable. Even though, I mean, it costs like 6 mana. over 2 turns. It's absolute trash. But how about you keep this for 3 mana, you keep this for as long as you have relics to spend. You know? And, well, your hero power is still gonna cost 1 mana. But now you're gonna deal 3 damage for 1 relic. Which is kind of an upgrade if you have ridiculous amount of relics to spend. Now, I don't think I've added enough gain relic cards, unfortunately. Which makes me really sad, and we're gonna have to add some. See how we can squeeze that shit in. Technically, there should be a way to gain a relic. Some kind of interesting interaction that you can perform. Maybe like heal with your hero. That's kind of cool, right? It's kind of cool. Kill with a hero attack. I like that. Because again, technically we gain corpses by things dying, right? That's the whole point. So we have to not only apply potentially a cool little bonus that we can do, which is technically doesn't happen with Demon, Death Knight. So should we add Death Knight something to spend corpses with? Why does this card doesn't say spend corpses? It's kind of annoying. What I'm thinking, like, if you have 10 or more corpses, things that you play could get reborn. You know, become very difficult to kill. You have to play the card, though. So you would be summoning a bunch of tokens instead. That would be nice. It would replace Mosh Pit. And would make certain cards pretty crazy powerful, you know? But not that bad. And you would have to still spend 3 corpses. It would just be a passive effect if you have too many corpses. You would get an easy bonus. And Blood Death Knight doesn't play minions, so fuck yeah, I don't care. Now this way, if Blood Death Knight wants to play minions, they can't clear my 10-10s with the stupid explosion anymore. Now they have to think. That would be fair, I think. I will redo the corpse explosion and the stupid infinite corpse thing, because you should care about the amount of corpses you have at all times. So, I don't want to see this shit. This corpse explosion bullshit. I don't need that. I'm sorry. Technically, it's a different name. And technically, it's for corpses you've spent. Which forces, again, you to place certain cards, unless you have this passive effect. I think you can have 3 passive effects and they override each other. So if you add a 4th one, it's gonna override the passive effect that you start with. As a Demon Death Knight. Jesus Christ, it's annoying. It's still twisted in my brain. I can't believe this, man. Can we rename Death Knight into something else? Like Reaper or something? Jesus Christ. Alright, so you gain a relic by killing with your hero. And here's what happens when you have 10 plus corpses. But let's continue. Now to Druid. Swap. Okay, that's fine. So Wisps come from unspent mana. And there's actually no way to use Wisps for some reason. It would be nice, like, it could generate, if you have 10 wisps, it could generate a coin to your hand at the start of your turn. That'd be fair. But funny enough, I mean, it's still a passive effect, this thing. So I'm like, Druid also needs a passive effect, but it sort of has one because natural is a keyword that some cards will have, but, you know, only some cards, and you will give certain cards natural keyword. Blood Treant, I've changed to sometimes be able to use a wisp, but if you can generate wisps like your Warlock player, you can take 5 damage instead. Or you would just take damage and summon another copy of this, which is 1 mana 2/2 now, instead of whatever nonsense this is. Oh. This is kind of nonsensical in terms of how is this a combination. Technically it's a treant. There's no treant synergy though in Druid, so what's the point? But you could be able to do the choose one thing, which only applies to Druid because only Druid can spend wisps. Otherwise you just take 5 damage. And summon a copy of this. Why did I choose to change that part? Because, why not? Why does it have to cost 0 mana still? And be so boring when you do it? You just spent an entire card to summon a 2/2 and 5 health. And there's no choice. And again, no treant synergy. I don't... It's a weird card, so I kind of like changed it a little bit to make it more interesting. Timber Tambourine. All these weapons have to change dramatically. So you have that. That summons a lot of crap. It would still summon a 5/5 as a 4 mana weapon. Still pretty good. And give natural to your entire hand. It is crazy. I believe it's still a death rattle attached here as well. So you play a tambourine and all of a sudden, once you're done, your whole hand is natural. Again, natural means you can spend wisps to cover the missing mana. So you have 3 mana, but you have 6 wisps. That means you can still play a 9 mana card. It's pretty crazy. Alright, this keyword is pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. Death Beetle was the meme. It was pretty stupid. Oh yeah, there's a lot of death going on. But overall, like, what the fuck is this mean? Why do I have to play a specific card in my deck just to activate this? It just makes no sense. What are you thinking? I have to play a 2-drop? I don't want to play 2 drops. Is charge so fucking expensive that only Hunter can have the best boardclears and charge minions that double up in stats and just straight up kill you from 30 health? You know, but we can't have a nice thing like Death Beetle, so I'm like, you spend 3 wisps, you gain charge, spend 3 more wisps, gain +4/+4. Again, getting wisps, not supposed to be that difficult. You're gonna float mana at some point. So, you can get yourself a 10/10. Just like you see here, with charge. Just need to spend some shit that you're gonna get anyways. You don't need to even get 11 mana. Isn't that crazy? I mean, in late game, crazy things will happen, and at least this is reliable, finally. Nightshade Bug is like the worst thing. Why is it called a bug, by the way? No, it's not a bug. I renamed it, I guess. Bud, I guess? It's a bug now. Discover a minion and spell from your deck. Give them natural. So, now you get to discover 2 cards for 5 mana, which is pretty cool. Priest can do it for 3 mana. But, you can play them, pretty much. You can discover and play them. In this case, you discover and summon it, or cast it immediately. You don't get to choose when to summon, and whether you want the battle cry as well. And you like doing it for 8... This card makes no sense, ever. What is going on here? But for 8 mana, you can play this thing. And this thing reliably, basically. And that's it. You telling me, because I can have 2 cards that I can play with this, now all of a sudden makes sense to have this card in Druid in general. What if I want to summon a fucking dragon, bro? I would love to do that, but it's a battle cry. It's the dumbest card I've ever seen. But now it's not, because I fixed it. Incarceration is that stupid removal that's not a removal. I mean, Druid gets like the most laughable cards you've ever seen, guys. It doesn't even do anything, it just makes things dormant. Instead, how about a passive ability? Whenever your hero attacks, or whatever your hero attacks, goes dormant. So attack into something, and that 10-10 gonna go dormant. You have already taken 10 damage from a 10-10. But at least your hero power now does something cooler. It incarcerates things. It doesn't matter how big they are. They gotta go to jail. Because your druid decided. It has the power to do so. To send people to jail. Convoke the spirits. So, instead of having to cast random spells, it's a fucking card game. Just give the spells to the druid. And I give them natural, so you can cast a lot of them immediately. This is still 10 mana. It fills your entire hand, though. And if you have wisps, you're gonna play this and still gonna be able to play certain spells. And do something. You know, if you floated some mana. Again, you still need to float mana. It's actually pretty difficult to float mana. After I played ETC, I realized this thing is bouncing around and everyone's spending all the mana. And it feels kind of unavoidable sometimes. But, you know, maybe it's still a playable card. I want to know how it works out. Because all of a sudden it changes the game entirely. And yes, it makes things more complicated, but, I mean, I love that. You can always have a simpler version of Hearthstone somewhere else. If you don't like the complexity. I think it's completely fair. It's just very, very slight adjustment of materials where Death Knight already has them. Now, it's a little bit weird to spread the disease, but I think it's a pretty good addition to the game. So we're gonna check other classes because we literally have 30 more minutes. Green Gardener. And I have nothing... This is like super duper clean because it's very easy to understand what I'm doing, and I'm fixing like really broken cards in a very satisfying way. Green Gardener, so this refreshes. It's such a weird effect that makes no sense. I don't even want to look at it. My brain just stops working. But basically, you have the highest cost spell in your hand, and you refresh mana. Is that cool? I don't think that's cool at all. Again, my brain hurts. Because now I have to have big spells in my hand. And the only thing I get is like a 5/5. And it's Thanks, I guess. Thank you. Gain 1 wisp for each spell in your hand. How about that? And on top of that, your next spell is natural. That's pretty cool. It's very difficult, I think, to make your next spell natural. But maybe not? I mean, no. Like, you add the keyword, and the keyword just disappears for every spell. It feels pretty cool. You keep the same stats. I mean, you normally would have 4 spells in your hand, so you get 4 wisps. You can play a 4-drop spell on top of that. That's cool. I like that. Anyways, so let's see what the next material is gonna look like. Let's pick Hunter. The reason why I'm not showing Death Knight, because we're gonna rework Death Knight entirely. Like, literally entirely. The way runes gonna work is gonna be completely different. Technically, runes could be those passive abilities entirely filled in. When Death Knight shows up, it just fills up all of them. It's a little bit weird to lose ability to gain passive abilities, but it's kind of interesting at the same time when you can just predetermine things. And the reason why I would do that is because I don't want to split Death Knight into 3 different pieces. But this is a video for the future. Maybe the next, this number 7 or whatever. Because that's the plan. I don't really have other plans. The first thing that comes to mind is like an arrow mechanic, where if you receive arrows, you can use your hero power for 1 mana and target creatures. We already had something very similar in like the side quest, or the quest line thing was improving your hero power and upgrading it. This would be kind of interesting. The problem with the arrows is wait, there's an arrowsmith? What the fuck? Okay, so definitely we definitely need to do something about arrows. Because again, it's a hero power, and we also have a smith. And then a bunch of arrow-related, bow-related stuff. Now the question is, how do we generate arrows? I actually have a very interesting solution to that. You can generate arrows by not taking damage. That means you're far away from your opponent's minions, and you have just enough time to load up arrows and shoot them. It's a little bit weird because you will start generating arrows from the very first turn. So basically at the end of your opponent's turn, if they couldn't deal damage to you, you will immediately start with 1 arrow, meaning your hero power will immediately be upgraded. It's kind of menacing, but makes things kind of interesting. So it's very menacing if we allow Hunter to have a 1 mana hero power. So I'll just leave it at 2. But it will gain very consistent arrows as long as it doesn't get hurt. Which is kind of cool. I'm into it. Alright, let the part 6 begin, boys. You should be able to still not use an arrow if you attack your opponent's hero. But if you target other things, you have to spend an arrow for that. I think that's kind of cool. Just to have control over things. Maybe you don't want to spend the arrow, but you want your hero power to be useful. So it just adds even more choices. now we're gonna change a bunch of cards, because goddammit, I feel this is pretty cool. This card needs to change. There's a lot of hunter cards that goddamn needs to change. Ugh. Disturbing. So it would be kind of mediocre if Arrowsmith just gave you arrows. So it also just reduces the hero power. You can't replay your hero power. You can't spam with Arrowsmith anymore. But gaining arrows is pretty good. Let's see if we can have some cool effects with that, though. Oh. Animal companion. How about you use a certain amount of arrows? Instead of spend, I would say use arrows. You could be using anything. You could be using wisps, even corpses, even relics you can use instead of spend. That would make a lot more sense, actually. Damn. The thing that use does not imply is that you're gonna lose it. You know, that you're actually, like, spending means you will lose the resource. So I guess spend is better. So if you spend 2 arrows, you get to discover your companion, which is so cool. To get a little bit of an upgrade. Damn. That is awesome. Or like, you can spend an arrow to upgrade this. Like, there's gonna be ability to forge cards, but this is so much cooler, man. I think Spotter is a weird card. We could just replace it with something cooler. Because it requires weapons, and it turns into a removal. Pretty powerful stuff. The way I want to change it is like, you just double, as a passive ability, you double your hero power. So you deal 4 damage. But only if you use an arrow. Meaning that if you attack your opponent's hero, it would still deal 2 damage because you're not using up arrows that way. It's kind of weird. So technically I would just say your hero power deals double damage to minions or whatever. That would be kind of sensible. But I'm not sure if I want to do that yet. It's just like weird, right? Because technically this thing only makes sense with a weapon that's with not much attack, and a lot of these have 3, 4. That's plenty of attack to kill the random minion. I don't know if this card is playable at all in this condition. The funny thing is, this is such a confusing card because you don't know if it's gonna set the health before you attack or after you attack. It technically does when you attack. It sets to 1. You finish your attack and you kill the creature, whatever the health it had before. It's still weird. So there's 2 reasons to change this. It has its own arrows. If it's so good at spotting, it might just attack with arrows whatever your opponent tries to summon. That would make even more sense. So it like damages them. The reason why I say this is your hero wants to be protected by all costs to be able to gather more arrows for itself. Oh, that's very interesting because like the traps allow you to protect yourself. so you would play them more often. Cat Trick could do something a little bit better, but your opponent casts a spell. We did the Arrowsmith, right? The first thing. The interesting thing, we could do the same thing with Jeweled Macaw, is you discover a beast instead. That's a little bit cooler. Maybe for 2 arrows, you get all the 3 cards. Fuck yeah, dude. Let's upgrade everything like that. You just get, like, better resources. Oh my god, that's so cool. Same goes with Tracker, because tracking is supposed to, like, track things, and instead you get a random 1-cost spell. So you could just play this and discover a lowest cost spells in your deck. Alright? I would say just draw lowest cost spell. Like, that would just make the card much more reasonable and applicable in more decks. And in the decks where you only have a few spells, like, this would be very, very cool. Like, it's so unreasonable to not print cool cards like that. They're, like, flexible and can be applied in many decks. Yes, it might be very powerful, but who cares, bro? You can draw a weapon on demand, and the weapons are pretty broken. So why not this? You know, it's a class card after all. It's not some kind of neutral bullshit. Now, it would be nice to be able to select whether you want to use arrows or not. But, oops. Oops, I guess. This could straight up be a passive ability where a spell is gonna consume arrows, but be poisonous. It's kind of powerful that way, so I wouldn't really want to do it with poison. But we could do, you know, we have a lot of arcane plus spell damage, right? So we could just add a passive ability where you get spell damage on your spells based on the arrows, if you like it that way. Because there's a lot of cards that do this arcane bullshit. You know, give your arcane spells in your hand. Spell damage. We could just completely repurpose this thing for something else. By the way, this is like 2 specific arcane spells are like kind of weird. If you see arcane spells, there's only 1, 2, 3, this is unplayable, 4, 5. It's just a small package that makes no fucking sense. Alright, and the reason of having materials is to make sure that developers build around that. Also, just having expansions in general and rotations make no sense. So when I'm redesigning cards, I'm just gonna bring things back to life, because fuck it, man. The core set is supposed to be a little bit more expensive than just like fucking 10 cards per class or some nonsense like that. Like, let's see how many core cards there are. There's Legacy, and here's the core. So there's 4, 8, 12, 16, 17 per class. That's not good. That's not a lot. 17 cards in a card game. We need 30 cards per deck, and half of them are just unplayable shit. I mean, they try to buff things, and this seems quite core. And we could look into this as well. And make sure this all makes sense. So basically, I want to redesign this in entirety to make it a lot more interesting. There might be a lot of things we can do here. with more arrows. These guys can just give arrows, by the way. Alright. And arcane spells could use arrows to upgrade. So you don't have to have them in your hand. You don't have to have them at all until you want it. Well, it's a weird legendary, right? It's kind of a weird one. Yeah, but you don't have to have them at all, because you will get arrows instead, right? That's the whole point. It's a multifunctional thing all of a sudden. You have these idiots. The Brightwing is gonna give you arrows at the end of the turn if you damage your opponent. So there's more ways to get arrows, basically. Congratulations. You draw your stupid legendary 3-drop. And here you're just gonna get like fucking 3 arrows. And do something immediately. Maybe draw arcane spell. And get 3 arrows, something like that. I'm gonna create a new keyword, basically. Alright? In order to protect your hero, you're gonna have linked beasts. Alright? Who will take damage for you, basically. And it makes kind of beasts a little bit weaker. But we might be able to turn this thing around a little bit. Basically, the keyword here is non-lethal damage. So if you have a 1/5 beast on the board, it can only take 4 damage. And anything above that goes to your hero. So if it's like 8 damage, your hero has to suck it up. Your linked beast is not gonna do anything at all. It's like, well, suck it up, Buttercup. This is too much damage for me. Technically, it's actually a nerf. You know, it's actually a nerf, but it makes things so complicated for the opponent that it's really crazy stuff. This is just really crazy stuff. Now you have to deal with the beasts. And multiple of them, and they don't die just because you attack your opponent's hero. They will not want to kill themselves that way. I could say it takes non-lethal amount of damage. Which would imply that even if an 8 attack creature attacks, your 1/5 is gonna suck up all the way down to 1 health, you know. It kind of makes more sense. It's kind of more consistent, right? Here you go. Protects you, basically, and runs away when it runs out of health. It's kind of like a Minecraft wolf type of behavior, right? Or I'm tripping, but that's how I imagine it to be. This is so cool, man. Oh my god. The juice. The brain juice. When you put it to work. Remember the portal mechanic? Well, let's bring it back here, where we open a portal and we spend arrows as mana. How about that? This is gonna cost basically 0. Right? And you can spend all your mana, and your beasts that will be summoned from the portal gonna get rush. And if you spend 1 arrow, they're gonna get +1/+1. I think that's pretty good. Alright. Fuck! Arcane Shot can be fucking broken. You just get another Arcane Shot if you spent an arrow instead. Oh my god, it's broken. I'll make it 1 damage, but you get a copy of this back. Basically, Hunter is just gonna spell offload like crazy. I could technically... Like, is it broken that so much that I have to... It's, See, the way to fix this is actually a little bit better idea, because you already shot an arrow, arcane arrow, as a bonus combo arrow. You're not supposed to get it immediately, you're gonna get it at the end of turn. So the way portals work, you say what kind of portal, so we're gonna open a beast portal, and we're gonna use mana as resource with a 0 mana card. Plus we have the bonus of adding rush and some stats. I've changed my mind, I don't need to use arrows on everything. If they kill something, they get +1/+1, let's go baby. Kill them all, man. It could be as big as you want it to be. This turn. Alright? And it applies to all the beasts. Everything gets rush. That's already on the board. So you have this whole portal. Now that's cooler. That's way cooler than this shit. Improved by spell damage. Go back to mage. Technically the best thing to do is not even worry about spend or one. Normally you will spend just one thing, or you can specify how much. And you can turn it into a trigger basically. If you have an arrow, you're gonna spend it to get this bonus effect, so you don't have to add this all the time. But in this case, I'm just gonna concede. Normally, I don't concede, but it's fine either way. We're just killing one word. The spending noise. Technically, half of the words that are reoccurring. It's pretty big deal. But we're talking about literally every single goddamn resource. Well, natural is a keyword as well, so it's like, you know, a natural spell will use wisps as resources. And that's sort of a written bonus. So we can just use this, whatever. I don't mind. It seems very useful. There might be some special triggers where you actually don't automatically spend the resources that you have. There might be an extra condition, so that would be pretty interesting. But overall, you just spend it, and it's a resource trigger just to remind you that this is kind of used universally for other resources too. So relics as well, and so on. And yeah, when it comes to relics, I forgot to mention that, or remind you guys, why print a relic package when it's so small when you can just have this cool thing in its entirety in the actual game forever? And a lot of cards. It's not a small package anymore, is it? Like, they have to stop printing out, like, small shit. That means absolutely nothing. They could, like, print slight variations of cards or whatever, but now Hearthstone is more of an idea generator and not really anything special. It's like the sun, because I compared to the sun and the moon versus Elder Scrolls Legends. And the sun gives you ideas, gives you reasons to go outside, turns you into a black person, makes me racist. I changed this significantly. It's like, oh, you get cards by boosting the spell damage. Like, who fucking cares, man? You're just gonna draw 2 cards on turn 6. It's kind of shit. I just make it a cycle card, and if you kill something, you get 1 arrow. It's kind of shit. Just 1 arrow. But hey, it's a goddamn cycle card. It could technically cost 1 mana though. But it's a cycle card, it's not 1 damage. I mean, one mana damage card like this. You can use it multiple times. And you get resources. I think it's pretty legit. Oh, and also I remove requirements. You can deal damage to anything. I didn't, okay, so ricochet shot gets +1 damage and only targets minions, because that's more reasonable. Again, you can find spell damage some other ways. I don't need this shit. It should be neutral minions that give spell damage anyways. And then the Arcane Quiver from this to get a copy of a spell instead of... It requires an arcane tag, which is bullshit. Stop inventing things when they're not gonna stick. You can... There's very limited design space for class cards, and you should stick with that limited design space. If you want to build a package, then do a neutral package. It's just that simple. Which is a little bit weird, but that's the whole fucking point. It's a package that every single class can use. Alright, it's a neutral package, but still. Makes so much more sense than fucking trying to make something stick in a class that may or may not be played as a whole. You know, that's the stupidest thing ever. I think soloist cards can be buffed into having passive abilities, but this is for another video. They simply have to be buffed in a completely different way of, like, if you have no creatures on the board, a passive ability is triggered, basically. If in the end of turn you have no creatures, basically. So something will happen. That's so much cooler, alright? It's almost like it's ingrained. Even if it dies, you know, it just goes into a passive slot and keeps singing the song, because it's recorded, basically. It's actually pretty cool. Alright, now we're looking for the bonus meme. We couldn't fix Hunter in its entirety, but that's fine. We're not technically doing that right now, but, you know, Hollow Hand definitely needs to be a bonus meme, including this faithful garbage, which we actually changed already. I forgot how. You know, it goes from 7 mana to 3 mana, because that's how it goes. And we probably just remove this part. You just summon two copies of a beast from your deck. That's it. Discover and summon for 3 mana. By the way, if Discover does not give you legendary options, you won't be able to get a copy of fucking Hydrolodon or whatever. Because that's annoying as well. I'm surprised that they don't run all 3 beasts, basically. King Crush, Hydrolodon. Maybe it, like, summons, like, little shits, right? And that's somehow bad? I don't see it, though. So, and then the Hollow Hound. Should we nerf all these 3 beasts as well? Well, Colossals are also very creepy, I would say. But again, if we nerf Discover to not discover legendaries, it's pretty cool. We have solved most of the problems already. And we just need to fix Hollow Hound in a funny way, you know. So basically, when you play Hollow Hound, you give every single minion Lifesteal, Cleave, and Rush, which is pretty fair, you know. Every single other creature is like Hollow Hound as well, and also steals life and whatnot. I could also turn them into undead beasts just for fun, but that's pretty cool. It's not funny though.
He was successful. He got his 2 packs, but if you just want to vote for whoever,
If you want more packs, then we added a little bit of an extra thing on a Hollow Hound, because it was pretty weak. But if you have 30 health, if you successfully reset the game, Zeddy isn't able to have a beard. No more beard. It's illegal, bro. You wanted to shave your head? Yeah, you keep that shit on your head. But beard is going away. You can get it back when your opponent will stop having 30 health. Technically, it's a passive ability. It's attachment to the passive ability, okay? So, let's not forget that. So if you successfully reset the game by clearing the board and all that shit, now at least Zeddy will have to fake it and put a filter that he has no beard anymore. He has to play along, you know, so bye. Bye, guys. Bye, beard. Bye, beard man. It's game over. Checkmate. Wait. I want to say checkmate properly. Wait for it, guys. I want to say checkmate. Here you go. My favorite chess streamer. Here we go. Here we go.
Here. No.
How do you both play strategy game?
There you go, boys. Wait, is he playing fucking Voxy or whatever? That'd be fucking ridiculous. Or some other fucking women now.
That's not what I meant.
Yeah, I couldn't recognize the Voxy's voice because it's fucking cranky shit. He just doesn't put a fucking camera on her. Doesn't want to trigger the viewers, man, to salivate. Anyways, see you guys next time. And checkmate. No more beard for these streamers. Alright? Only I get to have a beard. Because I will immediately concede if people play Hollow Hound. Fuck that shit. Bye.